my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, ha, not fucking likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running shit right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of...
G'day and welcome back to the channel Ginger Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginger Ninja and these are my movie reviews. But not just any movie reviews, no. It's Friday here in Australia, so it's Franchise Friday. If you're new to my channel, thank you very much for tuning in, stopping by and checking out. But you're probably wondering, what do you mean by Franchise Friday? Well, Franchise Friday is where I look at an entire franchise. Each Friday a different film in that franchise from start to finish, excluding any remakes or reboots. This time we're looking at the Hellraiser franchise and we're up to Hellraiser Revelations. But before I get into that, I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. Now I know I do it every week, but seriously, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble on about these movies for good or bad. Now, on to the movie. Hellraiser Revelations came out in 2011. It was directed by Victor Garcia. Now, this is obviously a very different director from Rick Bota, he did the last 3 films. So yeah, different director, different feel. Much different feel. And we've got a completely new cast as well. Yeah, completely new. No returning actors. We've got Stephen Brand, Nick Eversman, Tracy Fairway, Sebastian Roberts, Stephen Smith Collins as Pinhead, and Fred Tatasciore, hope I'm pronouncing that right, as the voice of Pinhead. Now I do have some issues with what they've done there. They have a physical actor portraying Pinhead and a vocal actor portraying the voice of Pinhead. Doug Bradley did both and he did it amazingly. So yeah, we'll touch on that later. Now the plot. 2 college friends unwittingly release Pinhead and his minions. And no, we're not talking about those funny looking yellow guys. Come on, you knew that joke was coming when the minute I said minions. Let's be honest. Anyway, look, this film is like a costume party where someone forgot to bring the good snacks and someone else showed up in a half-hearted Pinhead costume. Imagine this in just a leather jacket. Yeah. Look, there are reasons for that as well. They're not good and they're all based on retaining the IP. But like I said, I'll touch on that later. And look, this movie, it just tries to capture the dark and eerie essence that Clive Barker had in the original. But it ends up feeling like a bit of a knockoff, kind of a cheap haunted house rather than a spine-chilling adventure. It's kind of like, you know, Hellraiser from Temu or Wish, if you will. You know, it doesn't hold up to any of the previous ones. And like I said, I'll get into why that is. And I don't want to completely give this one so much shit because there are some really good points to this film. Some really good points. But comparing it to the originals, you don't have a chance in hell, so to speak. And look, it does start out feeling like it's going to be a found footage film, which is one of those really interesting elements of this movie. And it's something that I really did enjoy because I'm a found footage fan. But then the movie moves into the best way to describe it is it feels like a very made-for-TV movie. There are some lackluster performances and some very poor filming. But honestly, some of it isn't, like I said, it's not all bad. There are some really good points, which we're going to get into right now. All right, so let's have a look at the cast. And look, honestly, the performances are hit and miss. Some actors seem like they're really trying to do a great job. Others seem like they're there just to collect a paycheck. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at least put a little bit of effort in. That's all I'm saying. And I'm sure everyone would agree. If you watch a movie, you want to see the actors doing their best, or at least trying. This, a lot of the time, the majority of the time, some of the actors, in particular one, Tracy Fairman, who plays Emma, I think, sometimes she really does a good job. Other times, no, she does not. And I don't mean that to sound mean or anything, but yeah, it's like sometimes she's doing a half-assed job. Other times she's doing a fantastic job. Nick Eversman and also Jay Gillespie, who play the two main leads, they do a really good job, and they seem to have a really good friendship and connection on screen. However, that is hampered by the dialogue, which often feels stilted and unnatural, but not just between them, between the rest of the cast as well. And that just pulls away from their performances. Overall, the rest of the cast is pretty mediocre. And yeah, look, a lot of that can come down to the writing and script, but there are other factors that do come into play when in regards to this film. And I'll touch on them in a bit, because yeah, this was a rush job to say the least. Now, as for Pinhead, look, Doug Bradley obviously did not reprise his role as the iconic Pinhead. Whilst I did have issues with the way Pinhead was portrayed in the last one, Hellworld, it's miles ahead of what was in here. Stephen Smith Collins, the way he moves, there are scenes in this where it's like he's tilting his head one way or another and he's listening to something that's happening on the outside world. And it's just, why are they doing this? That's not something Pinhead has ever done. It just seemed really weird. The voice work by Fred Tatasciore, and like I said, hope I'm pronouncing that right, he gives it a good shot, but honestly, it just feels wrong, and the performance often comes off as creepy and really not in a good way. Like I said, Doug Bradley was able to embody that character with both his presence and his voice. This took two people and they didn't even make a quarter of that. Now on to the directing and the writing, and I did mention that the script felt rushed and it also lacks a lot of depth that fans of the series might expect. And a lot of this comes down to the fact that this was a very rushed production in order to save the actual IP. And this is direct from IMDb. After Dimension Films realised that a contractual stipulation meant they stood to lose the rights to Hellraiser series if they did not produce a sequel to 2005's Hellraiser Hellworld. Consequently, the entire production time was roughly 3 weeks, including an 11-day shooting schedule. So to me, that means that the script, the cast, everything production-wise was put together in that 3-week time schedule, including shooting and editing in that time. That does not give you a lot of time to write a decent Hellraiser script. I mean, yeah, you could probably smash one out in 3 weeks. Doesn't mean it's going to be good. Case in point. This feels like more of a collection of horror tropes and a coherent, engaging story. And this plot is paper thin and leaves a lot of loose ends. Whether they come back to that in the next installment, who knows? I doubt it. But yeah, it attempts to explore themes of desire, guilt, and the consequences of one's actions, much like the original film. However, the execution is less effective. The atmosphere, whilst it did occasionally capture the dark and foreboding tone of the series, often just lacks that depth that the original had. And there's no immersion in the story. It does dive into a bit of the backstory of the characters through that found footage element that I mentioned at the start. And it does provide glimpses into their motivation and the events leading up to the encounter with the Cenobites. Yet these moments are often overshadowed by the film's inconsistent tone and narrative flaws. And again, this comes down to 3 weeks, 11 days shooting. Yeah, I would actually like to see what was left on the cutting room floor of this one, if anything. Like, I'm pretty sure they just slapped it all together in the end. But like I said, I don't want to crap on this film because it does have some good points. And one of those is that found footage style, which in parts works really well. And I would have liked to have seen more of that. But that's me, and I am a found footage fan. I do like those films. The fact that they kind of sliced it in to bring more of the backstory into the forefront makes the film feel disjointed, and it does feel out of place within the traditional narrative structure of Hellraiser. And now onto the effects. And look, one of the film's biggest challenges is living up to the grotesque and imaginative visuals of its predecessors. And look, Hellraiser Revelations does attempt to capture the eerie and unsettling aesthetic, and it may fall short in some areas. The gore and the body horror elements are really present, and they maintain the franchise's signature style, which has been lacking for some time. The effects actually look good. The physical effects, they're brutal and they're bloody and they're very reminiscent of Hellraiser 2. And by that I mean we have one of the characters without their skin, which has been missing for so long. I think the last time we saw that was in Hellraiser 3, and it looks good the way they come back and they're all bloody and there's muscle. That looks good. I'm a huge fan of that, and I think they should have had more of them in the previous sequels. They didn't, for whatever reason, budgetary constraints or whatever, but they had them in this. And with a rush production, it's great to see that back. And it is great to see them trying to connect back to the originals. I like that about this film. So like I said, this film did have really good points. The effects in this one are miles ahead of any of the previous, well, apart from 3 and maybe 4, special effects in this one, top notch. Now on to rewatchability, and look, watching Hellraiser Revelations is a bit like ordering your favourite dish from a restaurant only to find out they've changed the recipe and it doesn't quite hit the same. There are glimpses of what made the original Hellraiser so good, but they're buried under a lot of clunky dialogue, uneven acting, and a storyline that doesn't quite gel. It's not the worst horror movie out there, but for fans of the franchise, it definitely feels like a bit of a letdown. Would I rewatch this? Honestly, it's unlikely, but it's definitely not out of the question. Final thoughts, and look, Hellraiser Revelations is an interesting, albeit flawed, addition to the Hellraiser series. It does have its moments, but it does fall short of the high bar that's been set by the majority of its predecessors. It serves as a reminder of the franchise's potential, but also the challenges of keeping a long-running horror series fresh and engaging. Is it the worst film in the series? No. It's not the best though. Overall, for a score, I would give this a 4.5 out of 10. And there you have it. Hellraiser Revelations. Have you seen this film? Let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Like I said, I didn't want to really rip this film apart too much because I know it had its issues, definitely, a rush production and all that. But the cast and crew did a commendable job most of the time. The special effects, to put these special effects together in that short amount of time, they did a phenomenal job. Like, there's no doubt about it. I am looking forward to seeing the last one, which will be next week, Hellraiser Judgment. Yeah, I've heard mixed reviews about that one too, but I'm going to go into it with an open mind and try and find some good out of it as well. But look, I'm not going to hold back. If something is shit, I'm not going to hold back on it. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. As I've mentioned previously, I will be doing Argento August, so either my Trashy Tuesdays or my Franchise Fridays will temporarily be paused, depending on how it goes. If it's Franchise Friday that continues, I will put a poll up on my community page, so keep an eye out for that as to what franchise I will be doing next. Depending on when this one drops, it'll be sometime the next week or so that I put that up there. But yeah, it depends on which one, when the stars align and all that stuff. You know how it is. Anyway, I'm not going to blather on too much on it. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit that thumbs up button. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified of all my future reviews. Anyway, look, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.